When I made the decision that I was going to be on this diet, I hate to say diet, when I made the decision to be on this eating plan for the rest of my life, there was no idea that it was going to be temporary. Now, I had wondered if it was going to be temporary. I thought, well, maybe a few months down the road, I'm going to be tired of it or whatever. But the longer I was on it, the more I kept seeing the benefits, and I was like, no, this is it. This is the way I have to eat for the rest of my life. Now, I've made changes to it since then. Obviously, it's like just dropping the vegetables and, as I saw how they affected me, I'm like, okay, I can get rid of those. But I was thinking the very first day that I was on the diet was my niece's birthday. So I had to decide that day, it's like, am I going to make an excuse that this is a special occasion, so therefore I should have something? And I decided, no, I'm going to try to stick with the diet today and let's see what happens. And I was fine. The very next week it wasn't even the next week. It was just like a few days later. It was my husband's birthday, and he likes to have a video game tournament, and we had a bunch of people come over. Everyone was bringing stuff. Oh my goodness. We had so many desserts. Oh, it was crazy. And for myself, it's like, okay, here's the second event where I could just say, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And I didn't. Instead, I kept saying, like, you know what? I'll have one of the desserts later. I'll have it later. I'll have it later. I kept pushing it off until the end of the night, where I'm finally like, you know what? I made it. I didn't have anything. I was surprised. That had never happened before. So I'm like, you know what? I think this is pretty good. Now, I did have a single bite of one thing. My daughter was like, Mom, you have to try this and see what you think. So I had a single bite. That was it. We'd stuck all the desserts in the freezer, and that was the end of it. So a week later was Thanksgiving. And here I was faced again with the idea of, like, here's another event. What do I do? Should I just go off of it? Or, what do I do? So I actually made carb replacements for everything that year. It was a lot of work, but I haven't really been like that since. I'll make a couple of replacements, but apart from that, not really. Just stick with the meat. So anyway, not long after that, I think it was about 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, was me and my husband's anniversary. And then a week after that was my youngest daughter's birthday. So I had 5 events in the first month of me being on this new way of eating. And I could have used each of those events as an excuse to go wild, have whatever I wanted, but I didn't want to have that mentality anymore. I wanted to have the mentality of, no, this is how I live now. So how do I maintain this new way of eating and get past these events? And it was interesting learning. It's like, okay, well, you can still have a good time without having these crazy foods. You can still have a good time just hanging out with friends. And that was a very interesting thing for me, learning that. So since then, there have been several upheavals in our life. My youngest daughter getting sick, and then my mom getting sick. And I mean, then of course there was the lockdown from, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. But each of these things came and went. And it was like, I could have used any of those as an excuse to go off the rails. But I didn't. Now, please know, I am not patting myself on the back for any of these things. It is, if I have strength, that's from God. If I have the right mentality, that's from God. It's because I've trusted him, because he's the one who led me to this way of eating in the first place. So me being able to stick with it is just me trying to obey what he's showing me. And I was thinking, it's like, you have to make it. If you want to be successful, if you want to have good health, you have to keep it from being a situational eating plan. In other words, when the situation changes, that's when you change how you eat. It has to remain stable and steady regardless of the situation that you're in. When you're in a new place, it's, nope, let me see what I can eat that is on plan. If you're at a restaurant, what can I eat that is on plan? if you're at a get together or if things get crazy in your house and everything's different and everything's changing, what can you eat that's on plan? Just in the last 4 months, my mom has been in the hospital 3 times. And each time it was the same thing for me where it's like, what can I have that's on plan? Now, I strayed slightly in that I had nuts and I saw cashews are no good for me, which was a good thing to discover. It's like it's funny because sometimes other nuts will give me a stomach ache. Cashews do not. However, cashews contribute to psoriasis for me, so I cannot have those. But anyway, try to keep that in mind. Don't let the diet be situational. Make it be steady and stable no matter what is going on. That is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.